Kate, thank you for joining us. Well, they came from Philadelphia to play in a championship football game, but what they did at a sports store got them yanked from the game and hauled off into custody. U.S. Channel 8's Ryan Arbogast in at Hampton Newsroom tonight. He has more on this story. And Ryan, Sheriff Grady Judd was really fired up today about this. Actually made an example of the accused shoplifters, and he had some words for the coach as well.
Keith, 100%, absolutely. The sheriff says that the crime was obvious, but what really made him angry was the response from the coach. Instead of taking some accountability, he begged the sheriff to drop the charges. So the sheriff says the players on that team learned the hard way. A real welcome to Polk County.
The systematic, organized theft ring called a football team.
Smile. You're on camera. This is surveillance video from a Dick's Sporting Goods in Davenport. All the angles law enforcement needed to call this a crime.
You didn't see 8 kids from Polk County in a store this weekend stealing, did ya?
Sheriff Grady Judd busting out the industrial printer to make an example of 8 teens, all either 14 or 15 years old.
They stole, and they stole, and they stole, and they stole, and they stole. Yeah. How do you like that?
The teens were in town for a youth football competition, representing the United Thoroughbreds out of Philly. The coach begging Grady to drop the charges.
You're way off base here, buddy. Way off base. You're the ultimate loser.
The sheriff's office says the boys Ubered over to Dick's before the game with a plan. One teen buys something, then links up with his buddies, stuffing over $2,000 in merchandise into the bag. In total, 47 items.
I don't know how you do things in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, but in Polk County, Florida, we'd lock you up.
Boy.
Yeah.
So we got to talk.
Damn, $2,000 worth of merchandise is crazy. I thought they might have stole some candy or some $2,000 worth of merch out of Dick's Sporting Goods. But see, here's the difference. Philadelphia, liberal city. Polk County, Florida, conservative county. See, if they would have done that in Philly, they would have got away with it. They would have got a slap on the wrist, if anything at all. But because they're in a red state, the law is actually being enforced. Do you see how that works? Do you see how that works? You go to Florida, a red state, you do crime, you get held accountable. You go to the blue state, Philly, blue city, Philly, LA, Chicago, New York, you get away with it. And now these criminals, they're traveling. But they're in for a rude awakening because in some places in America, the law is still the law. Now, did they get lynched? Did they get beat up like Emmett Till? Did they get killed? Did they get attacked by a mob of Klansmen? No, they did not. No, they didn't. No, they got held accountable and they lived to tell about it. Why can't they enforce the law like that in Philadelphia? Oh, because Philadelphia is run by a bunch of criminal-minded, criminal-protecting Democrats. That is the only difference there.
Talk about yet again another.
Just embarrassing. But it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing how when you actually enforce the law, it stops crime. Dick's didn't lose $2,000 worth of merchandise and have to leave the city because theft has driven them out of business. They got their merch back.
Get into this.
And they stole, and they stole, and they stole. Yeah, how do you like that? This is everything that they stole. And guess what? As we've said before, you can't go any place, anytime that you're not on a camera. So Dick's Sporting Goods knows that they're stealing because they're watching this systematic, organized theft ring called a football team. Now, not only did they steal 47 items. Not only did they steal 47 items, but ostensibly they may have cost their team the championship and the football game, because I don't know if these all were starters or not, but I can tell you that we were finishers. We arrested them. We took them to the Juvenile Assessment Center and we put them in lockup. But I want to introduce you to their coach. His name's Ramon Bynes, B-Y-N-E-S. So when we notify the coach who is responsible for them, you would think he would be interested in holding them accountable and responsible. Instead, he goes to the deputies and begs them not to take these young men into custody. Oh, don't arrest them. Drop the charges. Let them go. And then when we said no, then they go to Dick's Sporting Goods to the manager and said, oh, don't charge them. Don't charge them. They were not taking bubble gum one piece to chew.
Exactly. They were stealing over $2,000 worth of merchandise. And I'm not going to lie. In my mind, when I hear that, I feel like the coach is the one who sent them to do that. I feel like the coach is the one who sent him to do it. Because what kids go in a store and know exactly what to go for? The most expensive items, right? But they had to have some type of money, because you don't just get on a traveling youth football team for free. So these aren't the poorest kids in the community in Philadelphia either, unless they out there on a sponsorship. Robert Woolley, let me get this comment. I moved from California to a red state, and they do not play here. It's like night and day in comparison. 100%. If that had been California, the police would have never showed up. They would have just told Dix, you know what? That's your problem. That's why when you come to LA, there's really Dix in only 2 or 3 places, and they're nowhere near black people. Cerritos, ain't no black people living in Cerritos. El Segundo, barely a sprinkle of black people living in El Segundo. Dick's Sporting Good purposely stays out of the black community or far away from it. You have to drive on the freeway to get to Dick's Sporting Good. Why? Because they want to stay in business. They want to stay in business. And then you'll say, well, that's a stereotype. You profiling. Nah, a child theft ring attempting to steal over $2,000 in merchandise gets busted up by Polk County sheriffs in Florida. And the coach says, don't arrest them and don't charge them. No apologies. No, I'll handle it. I'll get on these boys. I'll let their parents know. None of that. Yeah, just don't arrest them. You can't. Black people have become emboldened in our criminality because of liberal city and state soft on crime policies. And it puts us all in jeopardy when we go to a place where they're actually enforcing the law and when they begin enforcing the law again. Because I don't think that anyone has to convince you or prove to you. You can see it yourself. They are already starting to put the clamps on when it comes to the criminal activity and behavior. It's starting to feel like the 92 and 96 crime bill all over again. Believe me, it will get there.
Stole over $2,000 worth of products, over 47 different products they stole.
Yeah, that's a damn shame. And that's one of the reasons why I am covering this story, is because this coach should be ashamed of himself. When you talk about youth sports, youth athletics, right? And I learned this, growing up, playing football my whole life, is that the main takeaway, right, from youth sports, the main point is not to win. Okay, it's not to win, because ultimately winning doesn't really matter that much in the grand scheme of these kids and their lives. What really matters is the life lessons, the values that you learn from participating in youth sports. Okay, local news media about what happened.
Raekwon Bynes has been coaching the Olney-based United Thoroughbred football team for the past 6 years.
You strive on discipline, prayer, and schoolwork too.
The team was in Florida last week for a championship game. On Saturday, Bynes says he went to wake up the boys for prayer, but 8 of them weren't in their beds.
I got a phone call simultaneously saying that, hey, coach, can you come get us from Dick's Sporting Goods? And when I got there, that's when I found out everything that was going on.
Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd released this surveillance video saying it was all caught on camera. Polk County Sheriff deputies took the boys into custody, accusing them of stealing nearly $2,300 in merchandise.
They stole and they stole and they stole and they stole and they stole. Yeah. How do you like that?
I was not only surprised, but very disappointed.
Bynes says he asked the deputies and the store not to press charges, but authorities charged the 8 boys with felony theft.
I just hope that they take this as a lesson learned, and realize like actions have consequences, and actions also affect not just you, but those around you.
The arrested players were in custody during the championship game Saturday. The team lost. Bynes and the rest of the coaches drove the kids back to Philly that night. What did they share with you?
They didn't really share much with me, just because, again, when a kid knows that he did wrong, they're disappointed in themselves, and they can't even really look at me in my face.
And it's unclear when the boys will have a court date next. We reached out to the Florida Department of Juvenile Justice, but have not yet heard back. Bynes shared that the arrested teens are no longer on the team. That's both because they aged out, but also a consequence of their actions, he says.
And then when it was evident that they were going to be arrested, then the coach says, don't you guys have anything better to do? What are all these deputies doing here? Don't you have anything better to do than arrest these kids? Listen, I don't know how you do things in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, but in Polk County, Florida, we'd lock you up for stealing, for being a thief. So this is part of a football team.
What do you guys think? What do you guys think the future careers are of these young scholars here, right? I think we got a doctor, a lawyer, an astronaut, a physicist. This guy, he's a AI researcher, right? We got a nuclear engineer here, right? An accountant, a biologist, right? I'm sure all of these young teenagers, these young scholars, I'm sure they're going to grow up and be positive contributors to society, right? They're going to be on the cutting edge of innovation. I'm sure, right? That's the story that we're always told. Oh, they were going to be A+ students. They were going to go to college or university. They were going to change the world, right? And the reality is that it's always the same characters, right? It's always the same characters, the same looks, the same profile, the same everything. And when you notice this pattern and you call it out, they say, oh, well, it's racist. It's not racist. If you don't want these type of stereotypes, then you need to crack down on this behavior. And that's my biggest problem with the coach. That's my biggest problem, is that he's complicit in all this. Because clearly his leadership has failed these kids.
This is also the thoroughbred thieves, and it's their choice. It's their choice to go to jail because they Ubered down and were actively ripping off Dick's Sporting Goods. 47 items, I believe they were caught with. So at the end of the day, the message is clear. Not just in this Christmas season, but anytime. All of these stores have cameras, and we have relationships with all of these stores. If you come here to Polk County and steal, there's no notices to appear. There's no warnings. You're in handcuffs and taken to the county jail or taken to juvenile lockup, period. You don't want to go to jail? You don't want to go to juvenile lockup? Don't steal. We didn't choose to arrest you. You chose to be arrested. And that's the way it is. And for the coach, you're way off base here, buddy. Way off base. You're the ultimate loser. If you've been coaching these kids upright, if you knew where they were, if you didn't allow them to Uber away, they would have played in a ball game Saturday night. So you have a compare and contrast here.
Man, the coach is a piece of crap. There's no compare and contrast. The coach looks like he's a young dude who's immature, like he might have joined them in stealing had they put him up on game, or like he might have gave them the idea. You know, some of these older dudes would be like, yeah, man, when I was younger, we'd go to the sporting goods store and just clean up and steal. He looks like one of those type of people. And then when he talks to the cops, don't you have anything better to do? He doesn't even know how to talk in a way that could kind of maybe get the police officers to let the kids at least play in the game. He's antagonizing the cops, insulting them. And then you wonder why the kids got shown no mercy. They got no leniency because you got a dumbass coach who shouldn't be coaching anybody. How you coaching a team and the team is capable of going to get a damn Uber without you even knowing? How you the coach of the team? No, I don't believe it. I believe the coach told them. I believe the coach told them to steal. How you know, J World? How you know? How you know he didn't tell him to steal? You don't know that. It don't matter. He's responsible. When you're responsible for somebody, if they do something, it's like you did it. It's like you did it. Coach didn't tell him to steal, though. Like you was there. I don't know if he told him to steal. I said he might have told him to steal. That's what I said. He might have told him. He didn't tell him to steal, though, Brandon. How do you know? How do you know? But see, this is black folks. We know so much. Ain't met that man a day in our life. And then, and the thing that makes me think, you know, that maybe he did tell him to steal was his response to everything once they got caught. What adult rolls up to the police and say, oh, yeah, don't y'all got something better to do? Don't y'all got something better to do when a group of his kids get caught stealing? You know how idiotic and moronic you have to be to do something like that? I don't, this guy's immature. And when you show me you're immature, there's no telling what you could have told him to do. I'm sorry. But we need to reinstitute those. We need to reinstitute those laws in every state in the union. If they would have came to California, they would have said, oh, well, they didn't steal over $5,000 worth of merchandise, so they get to walk off. Just ridiculous ass soft on crime policies. Okay. But yeah, that's what happens. That's what happens, man. You send your kids somewhere with this goober, and then your kid ends up being detained. And I don't think the kids even went to jail. Well, they might have went to jail. They might have got arrested.